Good evening, everyone. I am going to try to work on not being too loud because I lost my voice. So it's crazy. Like I have a deviated septum, some weird thing that goes on in my nose where when I get water in my nose, I can't clear it. Like I can blow but when I go to suck in, it's like somebody sticking their finger down my throat, gagging me. And it's happened now probably about 4 or 5 times where when that happens, then I lose my voice a few hours later because I strain my vocal cords and all that doing it. So it's just so much fun and exciting. So to conclude last week, we did a quick call because I was on the road and we talked about a Miles Monroe video. How many of you all actually went and watched that video? I watched it on the road. I didn't watch it. I listened to it on the road through the truck. And I wish I could have taken notes. It was about 2 hours long. So that's why it's interesting that some might watch it and some might not. And there were so many good points. There was awesome. Amanda said she watched it. And then she did 4 videos of him. Good job. Good job. Let me put the chat on so I can actually see if we have some talkers in this place. And then I'll also make sure we have no naughty muters.
Recording it.
All right. I don't know how that happens where it says recording in progress well, maybe when you log in, it tells you that. So with that being said, guys, it was interesting. As y'all heard, I jumped in the car when social media broke for the day because I decided, that week I was going to do all these Facebook Lives and stuff. And Facebook broke. And so did Instagram. And so did, here, hold on, let me figure this. So it mutes people as they come on. So I hook up the boat and head to Conroe, Texas. And guys, it was an absolutely amazing week. So much so that I don't even know. I was like so caught up in the moment that I should have been taking pictures of everything and putting tons of stuff on social media, but it was crazy. I just unplugged. I did a couple lives, but I unplugged from the world. I think Ricky, my wife, were the only people I talked to while I was there. I didn't talk to a whole lot of people while I was there, but I was walking around with a backpack with lemonade, tea, max caps, coffee, samples of every freaking thing you can possibly imagine. And basically, I was dosing people up left and right, and I have over 30 absolutely amazing contacts. I didn't just go throw stuff at people, but it created a lot of dialogue. And having the boat there and having people come and talk to me and then say, what do you do? And all that, it created incredible dialogue. I said I was going to go over there and I was going to get a bunch of contacts, and I absolutely did. But more than that, I created some, I believe, true relationships with people that I will be friends with for the rest of my life. Literally met a couple guys the first night that it was like we were all besties. That the couple that I went with and them was like we hung out with them the whole time. And then there was other people coming into our crew that we met. And then I'm like, wow, it's so amazing when you put it out there in the universe on what you want to attract and who you want to attract. Imagine this. The group of guys that I met, the 2 guys, they actually met on what they call a tie-up. And this guy loves going out on the boat, and then when they park, tying up to other people. But a lot of people are apprehensive about going up to other people when their boats are tied up, right? So what he did is he made flags that said, let's tie up. And then he created a whole brand behind it. And it was interesting because it was very much like who we are and what we do. It was our community. It was our, like, talking to these guys. It was my people. And it was so amazing. And like really getting to know people. And it showed me and contrasted what this business is about and what we do and who we are. And it was so cool watching. He's showing me all these videos, and I'm like, well, how'd you guys meet? We met at a tie-up. And now about 4 or 5 years ago, and now they're like really close friends. So it was really interesting. So now I got flags that hang on my boat, whenever we do tie up, hey, let's tie up. Like, because when I go to Crab Island, a lot of people are afraid to come tie up or come right up. They come close, and then normally I have the McLeans with me, and we go out and bring the people to us, right? But imagine if you could just attract people to you. So I've never been on a boat with people that were great at what I love doing, in terms of surfing. I have a lot of great friends that are incredible at wakeboarding, that can do flips, twists, and all this other kind of stuff. But I've never been around the surfing community. And I'm telling you this because, and I'll tie all this together. But guys, we go to this event and I meet all these people, and it was, just my energy. And because people like themselves, everyone that was at the event was all there for the same reason, the love of wake surfing. So as we were meeting people, I ended up on all kinds of people's boats that I didn't know. Then I ended up on one guy who was a dealer that brought a boat in, and he actually offered, oh my God, guys, I paid $87,500 for my boat. I stole it when I bought it. He offered me $120 for my boat and was going to sell me his brand new boat for $185. And I was just like, I'm about to build a house. My wife will kill me if I come home on a new boat. So I didn't do it, but it probably was a stupid decision because, it was nice. But point being is, then because of the relationship I built with the guy on the boat, not only did he offer to give me an amazing price, if I wanted to buy his boat, not only did he offer to basically give me like $400 off of a $1,100 surfboard, but he ran out of gas later that night at midnight. And guess who he called? He called me because I built a relationship with him. And because of that, I ended up meeting another group of people. So at the end of the whole trip, I ended up hanging out in the rooms, in the suites of all these pro surfers, wake surfers. The guy that announced the whole event, talked to him for hours. We were all like this. And I just met, and I go into a community or in an atmosphere of something I'd never been to in my life. And next thing you know, I'm in with the who's who of that community, period. I'm in with all the people that are whatever. And you're like, why are you telling me this? Like, what does this have to do with the business? Well, one, I talk to a lot of people about the business. Number two, I recognize something. Every company I've ever been in, even before I was in the leadership role, or in like high leadership roles or whatever it might be, I've always done that. I can go somewhere and I'm going to end up with the who's who based on my mindset, based on how I feel about myself, and that I can relate to anybody and build bridges and communicate with people and build bridges, build friendships. And it happens over and over and over again. And because of that, I've met so many amazing people. So why do I tell you that? Well, what are some things that we can do where we can connect with people on another level? What are you passionate about? What do you love to do? Guys, there's Facebook groups out there that you can start to meet people. And now when the internet or Facebook can go down or Instagram go down, like, guys, you can go dig into these groups and start to build relationships. It just so happened that the guy that was the announcer, the couple that I stayed with, the guy Dave, he's like 60 years old. But on Facebook, he's communicating with these people, commenting on their stuff and whatever. So when we went there and I'm talking to the guy, like he knew who I was staying with and all that through the relationship that they built on Facebook. But I met him when I pulled in another guy on the boat, and then we all ended up, hanging out later. But the point is that there's these places with things that you can be passionate about, things that you love outside of the business, to where you can start to network with those groups of people. And you could start bringing value to them in commenting or making different things, or paying attention to the things that they say and then compliment them and all this. Guys, you can do this out in your community. You can do this on social media. But the point is you have to do something. You have to get out there and meet people. Many people, especially if they've been doing this for any length of time, they go through their warm market and then they kind of plateau, and then they don't do squat. And then they wonder why they're not where they want to be. Well, guys, over the years, I built a massive database of people that I know. Let me see I want to see how many contacts I have in my phone right now. How does it show me? Let me see. Does anybody have any idea how to figure out exactly how many contacts you have on an iPhone? Like, does it tell you? Maybe at the beginning. Maybe I go to A. But holy crap. All right. It's not telling me. But let me see. I'm going to scroll. I'm going to show y'all. But all right. I'm going to just scroll. I mean, I have contacts, where I just basically build relationships. I get people's names and numbers. I'm messaging people. I'm doing all these things. Point being is, guys, you have to always be filling up your pipeline. And, the way that works is a funnel is big. And if you get out of the game for a little while, or you quit prospecting, then you have to start the whole process again. And you have to start planting seeds. And let me share what that looks like. One, I recommend picking up this thing, not just making a post on Facebook and expecting the world to come be attracted to you and all that stuff. Because one of the things that I have learned is that people will watch you, but more than likely, when you actually end up contacting them is when you see them somewhere, and then they start telling you about all the stuff that they've been watching you do on Facebook, but they never comment or like, but they're watching. How many people that you have in your phone are watching you, but you never picked up the phone to call them and talk to them about it? So the way that it works is a funnel. We have a funnel that we're working with, right? And I don't have one in my kitchen, but I would go get one out of my garage, but I don't want to take the time. But a funnel, if you know, it's very big at the top, and then there's a little hole at the bottom, right? And the reason why that is because you got to throw a lot of stuff in there. And then over time, the stuff comes out, right? And what you don't want to do is have a ton of people that you're having to deal with at one time and following up with 30 something people like I'm going to have to do over the next week. You do want to do that, but I'm saying that it's work, and you have to go through and follow up. And as you're following up, they start to come out of the hole in the funnel. But guys, if there's no people in the funnel, then there's no people to follow up with, which means there's nobody that's going to come out of the funnel. So the thing is that I share with you guys, I quit doing what I did. I became complacent. I did all these things, and I said, you know what? That's not okay. I got to get back in the trenches. I got to get back at doing what it was that create the lifestyle that we have. Because you're either growing or dying at all points of your life. You're either working out every day and getting in better shape, or you're not working out and getting in worse shape. You're either putting people into your basically funnel, or you're not. And if you're not, nothing comes out. So the point being, it's kind of weird talking quiet because my voice, but sounds like I'm whispering because I could talk louder with a whisper. It's funny, I never drink with straws, but I had a straw, so I'm like, I'm gonna try that. So guys, you want to fill your funnel and always be filling that pipeline, always be filling the funnel so people can come out. So how did I fill the funnel? What were the things that I was saying? Well, one, some of the people the next morning after the first night there, they might have had a little hangover or something. And I'm walking around my little backpack and I'm like, man, you look rough. It was a rough night last night. I'm like, oh my gosh, you didn't take any happy caps? And they're like, happy caps? Hold on a minute. Oh, pull my backpack off. I'm like, it's crazy. And the couple that I was with, they were like, I cannot believe how many people you can get to just take pills and they have no idea what the hell you're giving them. In 30 seconds of you talking to them, they're popping pills. It's crazy. So I'm literally sitting there and I go, oh my God, you got to try this. And I go, what is it? And I just tell a quick story. A friend of mine told me about this stuff. It sounded too good to be true. I was in a really rough place. And they shared this with me and I couldn't believe how great I felt. But when I realized like this stuff helps out when you don't feel good in the morning, if you drank too much or you're tired or whatever, you got to check this out. Boom. And I give it to them. And I did that over and over. Then other people, I was like, what do you do? How long you been doing that? No way, blah, blah. By the way, do you drink coffee? Well, yeah, actually I do. Have you tried the happy coffee everyone's been talking about yet? No, what is that? Oh my God. Tiffany loves coffee, his wife, right? And then basically I'm dosing them up. And then as I'm talking to them, they're networking, all that. These people were selling ropes that they made. And it was funny. I bought the rope, even though I didn't want it, because he told me a story. The guy told me a story and I'm like, this is a networker. And he told me a story about how a friend of his daughter was surfing and when she went to go pull the rope and it wrapped around her arm. And when she fell, it yanked her arm and almost lost her arm. So he made this rope with a retractable. So you don't have to try to wrap it up to get it back in the boat. You just pull it and it shoots back into the boat. So I was like, that's pretty cool. It's $150 for a rope. The ropes I normally buy are like $50. I spent $100 more because he told me a story. And I visualized, that's a possibility. It could happen on my boat and I don't want it to. So why not, right? But as I started to talk to him, next thing you know, I found out he has this big marketing company. No way. And as we're talking and all that, these people, at this time, I literally just dropped my backpack back off at the boat. And I told them what boat I had or whatever. Guess what? They showed up at my boat to come get samples, came to me to come get the samples because I told them stories, just like he told me stories, right? And then basically I'm sampling him and I'm sampling his wife. So guys, you just have to get out there. Well, what do I say? You notice I just gave you multiple different ways to say something. It's not exactly what you say, but it's how you say it. It's the enthusiasm that you have. It's the excitement that you have. It's your conviction and your music when you're talking to them. So guys, it's just so important for you to go do what it takes. So last week, I was talking with you all briefly prior to turning you over to the video that none of y'all watched, except for like one or two people. And which every one of you all would have got amazing value on leadership. It would have been some of the best that you ever learned, but not many people did. I see a couple people going in there and saying they did. But I also talked about my trip on the plane and how on the plane, I was listening to personal development the entire way. And guys, I'm going to be real with y'all. Like, in network marketing, many people might say, network marketing is a personal development with a compensation plan. But this is the reality. When you're getting all of your information directly from the company, and this has just been my experience, it's always information that makes you feel that this is the only thing on the planet that you should be doing, right? And it's biased. And I've always said, guys, you got to have an open mind and never just drink one type of Kool-Aid, right? So I listen to a lot of network marketing trainings and stuff like that. So I was listening to Jerry Clark, who you've heard me talk about, and the magic of colors. Now, how many times have we even trained on the colors? How many times have we talked about it from different perspectives? Well, I went back and dove in. A lot of the color trainings that I've done have been through Tom Big Al Schreider, and I learned them through another seminar thing that I went to, which was great, and I got a lot from it. But Jerry Clark broke it down. I think it was like 8 CDs to break down 4 colors. And I mean, he broke it down, and I took some notes because he broke it down in a little bit different perspective. So on the plane, I'm listening to this and I'm taking notes. So one of the things that he talked about is, we talk about yellows, blues, reds, and greens, right? And we talk about the yellows, and we normally just talk about helping people and all that kind of stuff. And we talk about the greens and it's research and data. We talk about the reds and it's money. And we talk about the blues and it's fun. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into a little bit different category, and go a little bit deeper into this. Because again, we talked about connecting. We talked about, how can I go out and meet all these people and connect with them and have them popping pills in 2 seconds? It's because I pay attention to people. I pay attention to their demeanor. I pay attention to their body language. I match and mirror them based on that. So I'm going to go into this, but I got to tell you another story. So we end up in another a dinner, because I was piling people in the boat, and I was taking people to dinner in the boat. And we met these other 2 guys. And so check this out. So I'm with the Let's Tie Up guys, who they meet people by throwing Let's Tie Up events. And then I meet this guy that, oh my gosh, I have the hat. Oh man, I forgot the website, what it's called, and I know it, but I got the app, I think. Let me see. Because it's, guys, let me see if I can find it right here. So these guys, he set up a thing. It's like an app where you can basically, it's almost like a ride share for your boat. And he's like, wakeboarding and wake surfing is an expensive sport. And I grew up where I didn't have a whole lot of money. And so I was never able to participate in that stuff growing up. So I thought, why not create an app where people could type in their area, what type of boat they have, and if they want to rent their boat, if they want to charge to bring people out on the boat, or if they just want to meet people to come out on the boat. So he created this app, and it's a whole community and stuff like that. And I know the name and I have it written down. I just didn't want to take the time to look at it. But it was so cool what he was telling me and what they created. And then as we're talking, like, it's all our language, all of our stuff. And then there's this other guy that was with him, Justin, who they happen to meet each other through the boating stuff as well, which is crazy, right? So as we're sitting there, he's sitting there watching me watch everybody else, but I wasn't doing it like blatantly, whatever, but he's like, dude, you just sit there and like break everything down, don't you? I said, well, not necessarily Like, I don't sit there and think I'm trying to break everybody down. I'm not sitting there trying to figure out everything about people, but I do just pick the stuff up. And he's like, well, what'd you pick up about me? And I started to go into his personality type and started telling him about his personality type. Then I started going around the table and talking about each person's personality type. And he's like, dude, I could just tell that like you just figure people out really quick and stuff. And this guy was super sharp, really smart, and we really connected. So I shared that story to share now the goods that I'm going to go into. So on the colors, you also have direct and indirect. So if you were to draw this out on a piece of paper and like you put a line like this and a line like this, like maybe like a cross, right? So people that are direct, direct is on the top, indirect is on the bottom. And basically, direct people are going to be reds. Direct people are also going to be blues. Many times, indirect people that are less aggressive, that are a little bit more cautious, less animated, more patient. Like that would be basically your yellows and greens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, so that now you have direct, you have indirect, and then you have open, and then you have self-contained. You can put that on the sides. So when you think about very open to talk about things and feelings and stuff like that, well, the direct and open person would be a blue. The indirect and open person would be a yellow. Is this making sense to everybody? So then the indirect, or not the more self-contained slash direct would be a red. The self-contained, more indirect will many times be a blue. I mean, a green, I'm sorry. So guys, this is a little bit different. You know, it's the same, it's the colors the same, but we're still, you know, kind of looking at it. So let's talk a little bit more. So the red, the type A personalities, they're going to be, or let's talk about the blue. They're going to be, which a lot of times might be a type A personality as well. But they're going to be more tenacious. They're just going to be like, you know, spontaneous. They like to basically, you know, boom, on a whim, like let's go take off and go do something like I did. Like who the hell all of a sudden decides on 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening to go hook the boat up and take off and run 6 hours away for a week, right? Like that is a spontaneous blue person, because that's not normal, right? They're extroverts. They are also open. They will share their feelings, but like say the yellow, they're more feeling oriented just in general. They're very flexible with their relationships. They're easy to deal with. They have enthusiasm. So does the blue. They're warm. So is the blue, right? Because guys, what I'm going over is all the openness. So we're talking about open. Now, all these same things are going to apply for all the open side, but you want to remember the blue a lot of times is a little bit more indirect because they don't like confrontation, right? So, but both the blue and the yellow are open, they're feeling oriented, they're flexible relationships, they have enthusiasm, they're warm. A yellow is going to make more qualified statements. They're rule followers, and they're normally more of an they're more normally more of an introvert. But that doesn't mean that once you start talking to them, they won't talk to you all day long. But you got to get to know them a little bit. So now we're going to let's go over a little bit to the more self-contained. They can dominate. The direct and self-contained are also spontaneous, but they can dominate a conversation, or they'll dominate in their personality. They're competitive. They're confrontational. They're going to have a very firm handshake. They normally will stick to the task and can sometimes come across as being cold. So now on the green / indirect self-contained, they're more cautious. They're less animated. They're more patient. They can also come out as being cold, and they're all about sticking to the task. Everything is about task, task, task. So let me see what else I basically wrote down about that. I wrote it down in all kinds of different formats because I was listening to something, not seeing it, and he was explaining stuff. So I have notes all over the page, which I don't even understand when I had to like figure out the personalities, figure out where I wrote what down. But because I'm a blue and my stuff is all jacked up. But guys, I just wanted to give you another perspective on when you're communicating with people on how you can also figure out what their colors are through these things. So does that help anybody? So guys, you just want to be a student of the game. You want to basically just always be digging in, learning as much as you can. Look, I highly recommend, and we have some amazing people in this company that share amazing goods and all this stuff that you can use to grow your business. But I also recommend always get different outside perspectives on any point of view that you have. Always love to challenge my point of view to see if I could possibly feel a certain way about things, because I never like to feel like whatever I'm feeling is the only way, or it's the this or that or whatever. And you got to be open to that stuff. And I'm partly sharing that because Miles Monroe, in that training that he did, for those of you that watched it are going to know what I'm talking about, and those that you don't won't. But he told the story of sheep. How many of you all remember that part? Was that good or what? And he said, sheep are the dumbest animal on the planet. And he said, why that is because sheep don't have a leader. Like, and he started to talk about it. He's like, look at all these sheep. Like they'll follow a dog. They'll follow a cow. They'll follow they'll follow anything. And the thing is that you want to make sure, and that's why I've talked about the magic of influence and understanding how people can use influence to where you don't get brainwashed by or influenced by things that you might not be in your value system and all that, just because it sounds like whatever. So I'm telling you to not be a sheep and to be a lion. It's funny. And he also told the story. He's like, the lion is not the strongest animal in the animal kingdom. It's not the biggest. It's not the smartest. But what the lion has is it has an attitude. And that's what we talk about in this industry. And being a leader in this industry is about you deciding that that's who you are, that you're the leader that people are looking for. Just like I said, look, I went to this event and I told everybody on that call, I'm going to meet a bunch of people. I did. Because I went there like a lion with a lion mentality, a lion attitude. And I basically connected with people on an extremely high level because of it. I didn't go there as a sheeple. I didn't go there just like, oh, whatever anybody tells. You know, there was some people selling some stuff and I bought some things and I didn't buy others. But I mean, a sheep might go in there and see one boar. Oh, that's the one I want. Oh, and then they end up buying everything because they can't make their mind up because they don't think. Guys, leaders are thinkers. Leaders think for themselves. I want challenge what I share with you. Don't ever believe whatever I say. Challenge it a little bit. Go look this stuff up. Figure it out. You know, like don't take anybody. Go out and get different points of references and resources and stuff. It's funny when I was a horse trainer on the track, and I would sit and talk to all these other trainers in the morning and stuff, or in the barn. And we would be sitting in the clocker stand and we would talk. And it's funny how like one trainer will be like, you know, this is the way I do it. Like there's some trainers that believe you got to drill the horse and you just train. Then there's other trainers that barely train at all. And they'll run them into shape. And they just have a lot lighter training schedule. Some people drill them like every day. Some people are like before the race, you know, they can't eat anything. They take the Lasix because there's some meds that they take. So, you know, it's healthy stuff because PETA and all the crazy animal protection agencies and all that stuff, like everything is so strict on what you have to do. But people are giving the horses healthy medications, not pain meds and stuff like that. In fact, they test for all that stuff so you can't have it. But it's funny, you'll hear perspectives and one person will say, this is what I do. I pull the water before 4 hours before the race. And then I don't give them any feed. And they'll tell you why. And they'll have this big explanation on why it's great. And then you'll talk to another trainer and they keep the water and the feed in the stall with the horse. And they have their reasons and their explanation and all that other kind of stuff. And both of them, when you listen to their point of view, it makes sense. So what I did is I chose to go, you know what? I'm going to watch each particular horse and I'm going to figure out what works for that horse. Because just like people and personalities, every horse is different. And then there's this old man that I became very good friends with. I mean, he's not that old. He's close to 80. But I still, you know, every year I hang out with him and stuff like that. And I'm close with his kids and all that stuff. His daughter is my age and we all were in the same circle growing up and all that. And he's like, I had done everything that I've even said, you can never do this, or you can never do that, or whatever. And he goes, I've realized that I've been proven wrong every single time. Anytime I think things are the only way that it could be, I get proven wrong. He's like, for instance, you know, like a lot of times people give horses days off before the race or whatever. And, you know, he had situations where they weren't going to let the horse run if the horse didn't have a published work. So he worked the horse that morning right before the race, which, oh my God, that's a big no-no. He did it and the horse wins, right? You'd have some people that do that and then they would go, oh, I'm going to do that with every horse now. Some horses that might, whatever. Point being is that one of the things that this guy taught me was that, and he's a very successful trainer. He's always on the top list of trainers. He's like, you can never say this is the only way about anything. You have to be open to realize that you don't know anything and that all of it is just practice. And we're just practicing to try to figure out how the world works, how we work, how everything works. So guys, I'm just telling you this stuff because you want to dig in and do personal development and dive into different trainings. But I'll share this story too. I'm on story night. So in my first company, it was not a unified message like what we have here, right? Um, there was like all these separate teams. And I'm talking about a whole bunch of separate teams. And it was like everybody did something different. But people did kind of work together, and like leaders would travel around and they would go from town to town and town. And every month we would have what was called a Super Saturday. And there would be a different leader that would come in from another state and they would do a training. And it was so crazy because these different trainers would come in and they would teach something and you're like, oh my God, that's it. And then you would be like, I've been doing it wrong. And then I would switch up everything I'm doing to go do what this person's doing. And then the next month, another trainer comes in. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Guys, this went on for years. Like, actually, I'm still in that company. Really, I'm still a promoter in that company. I don't really sell it, but the point being is, from 1999 to 2010, I was in that company solid. Minus when Katrina happened, I stopped for a little while to do construction. But point being is what I learned is that you need to become a culmination of all these nuggets you can pull from each person and never just totally shift gears and go, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. Like, oh, this is it. That's the only way to do it. And we talk about the 4 steps on what we do. And it's like 4 guidelines because every personality is different. And some of you might do the 4 steps through social media. Somebody might do the 4 steps when you're out meeting people. You might do the 4 steps in different ways. But yes, you're following a system and whatever you do does duplicate. But the thing is that you have to get nuggets from all these different places. And so I was painted a picture a couple different ways. One way was, have y'all ever seen one of those photos where the person just put a bunch of dots and it was all dots and then all of a sudden the dots become this drawing? And all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, like, look at that. It's like this amazing picture. I think it was, I saw Joe Rogan. I saw a podcast he did recently, and an artist gave him a photo of himself. But the photo of himself was all of these other people that this guy admired, that Joe Rogan admired, that he interviewed, that he got value from. And the picture of Joe was all the faces of all these other people. It was amazing. And it looked like Joe. But it was a picture of all of these other people that together formed Joe. I'm sharing that, and that story just came up to my mind because, guys, even when I do calls like this and all that, I had no idea what I was going to talk about when I got on the Zoom. Like, I honestly didn't. But because I've done personal development, and I think I grabbed the book and I just opened it up and I opened it up. Oh, that's the notes, that whatever. I just happened to mention that last week. But it's funny where it came and all the stuff that I've now talked about, most of it, 90% of it, I had no idea I was going to talk about. Didn't plan it. But the point is that I've done personal development for 20 years. And Chris is all of these pictures of all of these mentors and all of the books that I've read and all the tapes that I've listened to and all the trainings I've gone to and all the leaders I've worked with and all the people I've spent time with. I became a little bit from all those different people. And the beautiful part about it is no matter who you are and what your self-image is now, if you're pouring this good stuff into your brain all the time, you can become and create whatever it is that you want and become whoever you want to be. With that being said, I just want to tell you guys, again, I'm so privileged to be able to work with a group of people like you. And I'm going to close like this. I've been wanting to do a Facebook Live on this for a week. I haven't done it. Now I'll do a Facebook Live on it because it's whatever. But guys, you have to have intentions to go out there and grow a business and become the best version of yourself. And you just have to decide that you have it within you to achieve whatever it is that you want. 4 years ago, I would have never, 4 years ago, right now, this month, I would have never, I was flat broke. And I would never been able to just decide to hook up a boat, run off to Texas. I don't even know how much I spent. Didn't look, don't care. Go over there, have the time of my life, connect with all these people, and do that on demand. Guys, what we're talking about is freedom. And we all have freedom to choose. No one chooses to lose. You have to choose to win. People don't choose to lose, but they lose because they quit on themselves. Never quit on yourself. Keep working to become the best version of yourself, and all your dreams can absolutely become a reality. Love you guys. Everybody have an awesome night. We'll talk to you guys later. I hope you got value.
What's wrong with your voice?
What do you mean, what's wrong with my voice?
Oh, you used the broccoli that was in there?
I use
Thank
some.
you.
Thanks, guys. I used a little bit of the broccoli.
Oh, boy, you stink.
I'm in trouble, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. I'm gonna go get yelled at for eating my wife's broccoli. Bye-bye.
He's joking.